Let's talk about cutting weight and all things weight cutting related. When you should and when you shouldn't cut weight. We're going to establish some common terms so we're on the same page about upcoming weight cut for you. Most importantly, maybe, we're going to talk about the recomp. That's where so many people mess up once they've done a lot of hard work before they actually have to perform. And of course, when should you cut weight? Never. Don't. Just don't if you don't have to. I've cut weight a lot of times over a lot of years. If you are, make sure you're healthy first. Consult your doctor. Have friends, family members, training partner with you if you're going through more extreme measures to lose body weight. And again, if you don't have to, don't, right? If you can diet into your weight class for weight class competitive athletes, it's just a lot better for your performance and your overall health. Recommendations I give to athletes and to coaches: don't ever let a first-time lifter cut weight or manipulate their weight. They don't even know if they like competing yet. Do they want to have the singlet on, be out there in front of everybody trying to move some heavy weight, or do they just like the sport of powerlifting and getting stronger in the gym? Let's not add something else that may take away from their performance that they may not enjoy. But let's dive back in. So, cutting weight. It's a common term we hear a lot. And I actually like to talk about 3 terms. So we're on the same page. We're talking diet, weight manipulation, and then weight cutting. I like to look at those from least stressful on the body, but longest term, to more stressful, to the most extreme measures. Now, if we do it right, we shouldn't have to take the extreme measures. Most importantly, diet down. But do this far away from the competition. It would be awesome if you could be at weight for maintenance 3 months out. 2 months out, you're still gonna have some pretty good training. If you are dieting extensively going into competition, you also may not like your results on competition day. Your body's gonna be extra banged up. You can't recover. Unless you have to make weight for a national or world level event, it'd just be better to go up a weight class as soon as you hit your numbers on the platform, then dive back into that diet and continue to lose unwanted or unnecessary body weight. We don't need to dive into dieting too much more. We all know what going on a diet is. Again, remember, furthest away from competition, we don't want to be dieting up to. If we're a strong, successful, competitive athlete, we can then look at maintenance of that diet and jump into weight manipulation. Weight manipulation, in our terms, is simply limiting the amount of water, carbohydrate, and sodium intake to get a drastic change on the scale to help you make weight. Now remember, much like dieting, this can have an effect on your performance. Depending on the federation you lift in or the event you're competing for, jiu-jitsu competition, short 4-hour weigh-in, the more extreme weight cutting and weight manipulation you do, the more it's going to affect you. If you can be 24 plus hours out, you're going to have a lot better experience if, and we'll get there, you recomp well. Typically, you'll hear about this as a gut cut sometimes, or water loading. They all have similar effects. How we're going to explore this is look at maximizing our water intake up to 2 weeks out. If you look on the website of mine, Dream Team Performance, you'll see an article that covers this as well, and you can download PDF for an average 200-pound person, and that'll kind of help you scale it from there, when and how much water to load, etc. We have to keep in mind there's no magic formula. If you currently take in only about a half gallon of water throughout the day, jumping you up to a gallon and a gallon and a half is going to be a little extreme on your body and may not be necessary. However, if you're working in a hot, humid environment and you typically go through 1.5 gallons, 2 gallons of water a day with electrolytes, we then have to alter those numbers to get you water loaded. But off of a basic person, if we make sure we're water loading about 1 gallon a day, 2 weeks out, about a week out, we're going to increase that water intake to a very high amount, and then we start to taper that off. It's not going to be a huge drop. It's going to taper and then spike pretty steep about 24 hours out if need be. You can look on this chart here and see the different times of when water and sodium and carbs will drop. The last thing we're going to drop is water. Our body needs it. The first thing we're going to drop is sodium. We need it in our body, but we don't have to have high amounts of it that we'd probably normally find in our food and our electrolyte drinks, etc. Lastly, we're going to drop carbs. That does not, and I repeat, that does not mean we're going to kill our caloric intake. Your body's recovering here 2-3 days out from a competition. The last thing we need to do is freak out what the scale says and start starving ourselves. Remember, with this water loading, the scale's going to go up. You have to trust in the plan. I know that's hard sometimes. You have to trust in the plan and know that we're going to spike because we're water loading, and then it's going to drop off. If you can check this and test this 1 or 2 months out prior to actually needing it on the platform, your body and your mental status will thank you, I promise. So again, in general terms, we're going to look at loading about 14 days out. That's going to be maximized 5 days out. 3 days out, we're under our normal water intake with minimal sodium intake. It's almost impossible to get no sodium. And again, you do need electrolytes to live a healthy life. So we can't cut out everything forever. But fast food is not going to be a good option those last couple days. Extra sodium in seasonings and other things are going to take a big effect on the sodium levels you're intaking. If we are eating processed or canned foods, that's also going to be really difficult. My go-to is an unsalted almond butter or unsalted peanut butter. A lot of these products, again, it's going to be very hard to find 0 sodium, but going from 1,000, 2,000, whatever milligrams per day you're getting to under 100 or less is going to make a big difference in how your body holds on to water. Then we'll switch gears and we'll cut carbohydrates. Again, where fats come into play. If we're cutting as much sodium out as possible and all of our carbohydrate intake 48 hours out to deplete our glycogen storages, we really need to make sure if we're maintenance about 2,000, 2,500 calories that we're getting that in through clean protein sources and healthy fats. Avocados, again, nuts are my go-to, unsalted almond butter in protein drinks. You can easily make up 500, 600 calories pretty quick. Hit a couple of those throughout the day. You're monitoring your water, your protein, and your carbohydrates. And last but not least, with our water manipulation, I've easily been able to alter the scale weight by 13 pounds at about a 205, 210 pound body weight without actually going into the extremes of cutting more weight through baths or saunas, etc. However, if you're only a couple pounds underneath and you follow this protocol, you might notice that the night before, you're already 3-4 pounds underneath. So this can be pretty extreme to manipulate weight. This says 0 water, right? 20%. You might find that I can measure, right? I've got 16 ounces in this bottle. I can simply throw it on a food scale as well and see, well, I'm 3 pounds underneath. I can definitely have an 8-ounce glass of water and some extra almond butter, etc. Don't starve yourself. If you're looking to maximize your dots, I get wanting to cut that extra pound or 2 out, But keep in mind, once again, if you have a fair amount of weight to lose, this plan will help you. If you don't have that much weight to manipulate, or you're a larger athlete, this is going to be pretty extreme, so you might have to slow the process down or add some food and carbs back in. Last but not least, cutting weight. A lot of people call this whole process cutting. That's why I want to differentiate between diet, weight manipulation, and then actually cutting. So in the most extreme example, from 6 months to a month out, I was dieting to get to weight. I lost some good body fat. I'm healthier. I loaded my water, manipulated my carbs and sodium, got pretty close, but the night of, I'm still 2-3 pounds over. And now, if I'm a few pounds over, going to the sauna, getting in a little pocket sauna at home, taking a hot Epsom salt and rubbing alcohol bath, all of these things will cut more weight from me. But the further we go down that road, the more unhealthy it gets, and our performance the next day is probably going to drop even more. We don't want to put ourselves into a truly clinically dehydrated state. That's why I don't provide a lot of information on actual weight cutting. I'll work with athletes one-on-one, but I generally don't provide information out there to the masses because it should be something, again, if you're going that extreme, your blood work should be done. You should know where your electrolyte levels are. Any other health concerns you should have covered with your doctor. It can be risky business. You hear about bodybuilders and fighters all the time ending up in the hospital or worse. So generally, we don't recommend that. Again, your performance is going to drop the more extreme measures you do. I can attest to this. I used to cut very big weight for a lot of years, and now I'm just happy that I decided not to do that currently. All right, you're at weight. Most importantly, remember to test your scale if you can, unless you're traveling next to the competition scale, right? We need to know, is it a pound heavy? Is it a pound light? That's going to make a big difference. Unless you're very dehydrated, most people will lose at least a half a pound to a pound and a half just through natural body processes overnight. So I used to go to bed at exact weight that I needed to hit, but I knew my home scale was within a third of a pound of the competition scale. By the time I made it to competition, I was usually about a half a pound underneath. If I was on the road and traveling, I would probably err on the side of caution, especially if it was a bigger weight cut or weight manipulation. And I would want to be about a pound underneath to help fluctuate for any differences in the quality of the scale that I'm on in the hotel room or the gym versus the actual standard of the scale in competition. So again, we're there at the finish line. We made it. We're probably thinking about drinking water and eating all the fun stuff that we can have again very soon as we step on the scale. I used to like making up my Recomp concoction in about a gallon jug the night before or 2 nights before, so it's just in the refrigerator. I pull it out and it's ready to go. What do we have in there? There's a ton of different electrolyte solutions you can get out there. Some people really have their favorites, but if you look at the labels, they're similar, but they're all slightly different. Because of that, my favorite concoction was combining in this gallon of water, pour some of the gallon out, combine half of a Pedialyte and half of a Gatorade. Again, electrolyte performance is slightly different levels. I'm going to drink the rest of those anyways throughout the day. That just kind of gets me going. A quarter teaspoon, not tablespoon, a quarter teaspoon of salt to throw some extra sodium in there. If I take creatine, I'm going to put a double dose of creatine. Both of those things are going to help my body store the water. The last thing we want to do is put a bunch of water in after we've lost it and end up just peeing it out, right? We want to make sure that our body's storing that in, especially with carbohydrates. But if you put too much sodium or too much electrolytes, you might give yourself the runs, and now you have a worse problem. You're trying to rehydrate yourself and it's just pushing through and you're not getting any of it, right? It can be very challenging. So everything I'm going to stay with Recomp, start slow. You can build on it. If you overdo anything, it's not going to work well for you. In that concoction, again, half a Pedialyte, half of a Gatorade, quarter teaspoon of salt, double dose of creatine if I take it, and some honey in there for some extra carbohydrates. The message that I always give athletes, especially in our seminars, think about if you were clinically dehydrated, okay? Think about if you got stuck in the desert and ended up at the hospital. Would they first give you a giant bag of McDonald's or an awesome Denny's breakfast? No, they wouldn't. We want to put it on how it came off. Back to the chart. First thing we pulled was our electrolytes and our sodium, right? Second thing we pulled is our carbohydrates. And lastly, we pulled our water. Of course, we need water right away. So we're not going to run and get McDonald's, even if that's something you eat as an athlete. That's totally fine. I say that because I've eaten McDonald's plenty of times prior to training or after cutting weight, just for the ton of carbs and calories that I can get into a meal. Stick to the foods your body's used to. Remember, though, thinking about the model of being stuck in the desert. When you go to the hospital, the first thing they're going to do is give you a banana bag, right? You get that IV. You probably get another IV. The next thing they're going to do is give you some pudding, maybe some applesauce, something easy on your stomach. The electrolytes are already in that bag, right? So we're knocking those two things out. Then maybe you get that first meal. Hopefully you're released. Hopefully you never end up dehydrated in the hospital, but you get it, right? You're going to get a meal. You're going to get sent home. Pretty soon you're eating and drinking like normal. One of the biggest problems I see, especially as athletes cut more and more weight, or they weight manipulate, water loading, more and more weight, is the first things they put in. They drink, a Gatorade, and then they're off to breakfast with their buddies. Denny's is to be the powerlifter favorite, right? Pizza by lunch. You're going to get so much fat in your stomach that nothing's going to digest well. This concoction that I mix up, I suggest athletes get at least half of it in, depending on their body size. If they cut a lot more weight, there's 8 pounds of water in there. They need to get all that in within the first hour. Then they go get their first meal. First meal, again, ideally not Denny's, with a bunch of eggs and bacon and sausage. Sounds awesome. If you go there with the friends, just make a longer meal out of it. Start with pancakes and fruit, right? No bacon yet, no eggs. We want fast digesting carbohydrates. If you truly have depleted your whole glycogen levels, it would be awesome to get 400 to 600 grams of carbs in before you compete the next morning. That might sound like a ton, but a Gatorade is typically, full sugar Gatorade is going to be anywhere from 40 to 80 grams of carbs, depending on the size. If you like sodas, you may not drink them that often as an athlete. A regular can of Coca-Cola has about 50 grams of sugar in it. You start adding these things up, some fruit, a banana, some orange juice. Next thing you know, you've got 200 grams of sugar in your body. Go for a walk, help that digestion start to speed up, then add proteins in, then enter into a soft meal. By the time you're at dinner, go ahead, enjoy, have fun. I would still think about how you're feeling the next day. When I used to recomp, I would cut about 18 pounds on a smaller frame than I am now. Again, not smart, I don't suggest it. And our goal was to be up 20, 22 pounds, 24, 25 pounds prior to the platform. There was a lot of that was water weight, for sure. But by the time I made it to the platform the next day, I just felt sluggish and unathletic. Our favorite thing to do was try to finish a whole pizza before bed. And I remember just laying there miserable most times, waiting for competition the next day, just bloated. My sleep was miserable. I started working with a pro nutritionist. And again, this is in my career 15 years ago, and we recomped way smarter. We made sure we hit our carbohydrate goal. Our scale weight was back up. We started with our electrolytes, our waters, our sugars, simple carbs, plenty of healthy protein throughout the day, and then good meals that we like to enjoy. If I didn't feel like I could put any more food in, it wasn't time to force it. Go for another walk, get some bands out, do some light pump work, real light cable machine work, get that glycogen pushed to the muscles. If you feel like eating a bit more, sure, top it off. So hopefully that helps you with your recomp. And even if you're not cutting huge weight, even if you just stop drinking water an hour or two before bed the night before, you don't eat any breakfast, you walk in, you're a pound underneath, right on weight, still consider those recomp techniques and how your body's going to perform the next day.